6'2", 230. From there, he gets out of prison, and we get, I think, the best outfit of all. He's got this like World's Gym t-shirt, a cigar, and then like this little yellow cap. He looks like he might be going to adult daycare and like a lunchbox or something. And then, of course, we get the famous yellow Running Man suit. It is just bravo.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I'm one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, we'll cover one. To choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. Thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. I was just asked today if we're doing Severance. No, we are not. You can find all the information at past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. I'll be honest, I haven't seen Severance. I haven't seen White Lotus. I don't watch the TV.
Yeah, you're saving yourself hours of your life.
Thank you.
Even though I do like Severance. I do.
Nothing against TV. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Do what you like. I just don't really like TV.
I will say one fun fact, Gene, is that I watched all of season 1 of Severance, and then my sister goes, do you know they film a majority of that, like right up where my parents live in upstate New York? The diner plays a major role in the first couple episodes. We've been to that diner multiple times. I had no idea. So this Thanksgiving, we're going to go take a little tour of the Catskills with Emma, with the family, and see some of the locations.
It's like when the King Bee took me to Albuquerque and showed me all around where they shot Breaking Bad, and I'd never seen Breaking Bad. Then I got to go home and watch Breaking Bad. Holy shit, I've been there. That's the pizza house.
To see a car wash, to see the pizza house, to see
tableside guacamole.
Yes.
You can find all the information at past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. Finally, to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we just started playing games again. We play video games, we just watch parties, and edit this podcast live. Recently just did a stream with our buddy John of Helldivers 2. I'm really not good at it, and we do have a community that you can join in and play with us. That is on Steam. Just join the Shat Gamers community. There are 11 of us in there right now, so it's growing very quickly. Get in there, get some games in, kill some bugs with me. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, tonight's film, I'm very excited. We're continuing on with the month of Jeremiah. Jeremiah has supported us throughout the years, and he's supporting us now with 5 or 6 great films. We've done Star Wars New Hope, then we did Return of the Jedi, and tonight, it's a film that's long overdue. I went back recently and looked. We used to do voting, where people would vote for a category, and we would pick the movie. This was before the generous commissioners would step in to help support the podcast. And this film came up in it. It was the best of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And of the 6 films, this film finished second to last. We've done all the other films. So tonight it is nice to close out the Schwarzenegger category that we posted that many years ago. And that's because Jeremiah wrote in and wanted us to do the 1987 American dystopian action film, The Running Man. He did not write in again. He's a man of a few words, but he called in, Gene. I don't even know if it's about this movie or it's more about the community. I haven't listened to it yet, but I've seen the title of it. So here we go. Jeremiah might talk about the film. He might talk about the community. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Shat crew. This is Jeremiah from San Diego. And I just want to say, God damn, that's a lot of steps. You guys just started the step competition, the Ultra Shatathon, and the Shat on Steps, getting in shape for summer stuff. And I had no idea I know it's not supposed to be a competition. We're just doing our best that you could do, but these things always kind of turn into a competition for competitive people. And I was not expecting 15,000 steps in the first 6 hours, so that is pretty impressive. You got some serious steppers on there, and I just want to say thanks for doing that, because I mean, now that I know it's international and it's Team USA versus Team Britain and probably Team Ireland and whoever else, I've got to step it up. This is USA. Team USA is on the line here, so I'll be diving head first into the steps, and I really appreciate you guys doing this. All right, take care.
And true to his word, Jeremiah did, no pun intended, step it up. So Big D, we started this thing April 7th. So we were 9 days into the Ultra Shadathon. The goal here, people, is 45 days, 100 miles, which is not super hard to do. Right now, Big D is cruising in at 35 miles so far. He's in 11th place. I'm in at 27 miles on the dot. I'm in 14th place. Jeremiah has taken the lead and is currently at 80 miles. 80 miles. He's got 20 miles to go.
Yeah.
He's beating Paul Carter over in Middlesbrough. He's beating Sarah's cousin. He's beating Sarah's sister. He's beating Big Shoe, who I think was like is the perennial front runner here, and even Mr. Hot Stepper.
Well, Big Shoe might be laying in the bushes. He may be like setting him up here.
Yeah, it's possible.
He's going to let Jeremiah
He's going to run
get
an
a
actual
lead.
marathon tomorrow.
He's gonna then wait for the last night. He's gonna go out there, check the time zones. So you got to be careful, Jeremiah. I will also get out there again. It's hard because Vanessa's been working nights. So normally where I would go out, put my headphones on, do the 2 mile lap around the community, but I can't because Emma's home. So no excuses, but I will catch back up.
And if you do feel left out of these challenges, we'll do more this year. So do not fret. We'll get you involved in the next ones. I am still kicking ass on the activity minutes, though. I have racked up since April 7th, 870 minutes of activity. So, bam.
And it works, people. Shame is a powerful motivator.
All right. Back to The Running Man. The Running Man is a 1987 dystopian action movie directed by Paul Michael Glazer and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Maria Conchita Alonso, Richard Dawson, and Jesse Ventura. Set in the creator's vision of a 2019 America, the film features a TV show where convicted criminal runners must escape death at the hands of professional killers called stalkers. It is loosely based on the 1982 novel The Running Man, written by Stephen King under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. The Running Man was a moderate box office success in the United States, grossing $38 million on its $28 million budget, but it opened to mixed reviews from critics. A new movie adaptation of the novel, directed by Edgar Wright and starring Glenn Powell, of course, in the lead role, is set for release by Paramount Pictures in 2025. So, Big D, we've talked so much about Arnold Schwarzenegger on this podcast, and I've said it before, Arnold was a big deal in our household growing up. I always got excited about his movies because the early ones were kind of dark. If you think about Terminator, Raw Deal, Predator, and this movie, The Running Man. This one was different because it seemed more real to me as a 7-year-old, right? Terminator, you got a robotic infantry unit. I don't know anything about that. A spacefaring hunter and predator. Don't really relate to that. I've never been in the jungle. They're cool, but way outside my experiences. But everyone in the 80s watched game shows. Adults, kids, everything in between. So imagining this world was much easier. I'd seen things like this on TV. So I loved this movie as a kid. And then a year later, if you remember, we got American Gladiators, which I was like, oh, cool, it's Running Man. And I watched that show every week.
I, too, Gene, was a big Schwarzenegger fan. I mean, he peaked right at the point where his type of movie was big with my crowd, with my friends. It was ideal for a kid growing up in the 80s and then into the 90s. We kind of grew with him. But I realized there's a couple holes that I have in his filmography, because going back, there's a couple of them that I haven't watched that much. Jingle All the Way, I hadn't seen until we did the podcast review. Raw Deal, I think I've probably only seen it once. Red Sonja once. And surprisingly, The Running Man. It's one of his bigger early hits that when you think of Schwarzenegger, you think of Predator, Terminator, Running Man. Those are the movies. And the fact that I really could not remember everything in this film, the lines, the action sequences, it surprised me. So it was good to go back, dissect a film that I think will make some great conversation, because a lot of it's relevant today and being remade, and what was the approach to this type of film and the big action hero in the 80s and 90s. I think it's a fun one. So Jeremiah, thank you very much.
And in honor of Jeremiah for walking us through this catalog of sci-fi, all the movies he's done in the past, the ones that he has coming up, a big thank you. And let's hit the trailer.
In the year 2017, an innocent man accused of a crime has a choice: hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the running man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
The highest rated TV show in history.
Guess they want us to stay.
It's a game between life and death.
Give you a lift?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the running man. He's playing for a prize. The prize is his life.
How about the life?
The running man.
By 2017, the United States has become a totalitarian police state. Captain Ben Richards is arrested after refusing orders to open fire on an unarmed food riot. His fellow officers massacre the rioters and frame Richards for the incident. 18 months later, Richards escapes from a prison labor camp with two resistance fighters named Harold Weiss and William Laughlin.
So we get the opening scene. We get the text that gives us the backstory to what's going on in the world. It's 2017. The economies have collapsed. Food, natural resources, oil, short supply. It's worst case scenario. It's dystopian world. It's fallen apart. And the only thing that holds it together, for the United States at least, is this Running Man game show. You've censored all other media, but you get everybody together to watch this and you keep the people happy. And for this backstory that they're giving us, we get surprisingly very little afterwards. We meet Schwarzenegger. He is a helicopter pilot. And to see them squeeze his giant ass body into this helicopter, it's hilarious. And he seems to be okay with the job, with his life. He's flying out on a mission, and then Plan Alpha gets kicked in, where he has to slaughter 1,500 unarmed civilians. And he flat out refuses it. There's no backstory to tell us why he might have a problem with this, his experience in the world, growing up in the military, what he knows about the world. He's been a pilot here for a while, I guess. But within an instant, he flips. And it was a little weird for me because he doesn't hesitate. Nobody else in the helicopter seems to have a problem. And then all of a sudden, he just draws the line and he's gone to the other side. Demolition Man gave us more world building with Stallone jumping out of the helicopter than we got here from Richards.
I'm really curious about what the other plans were. Like, was there a plan Beta, a plan Charlie? Like, plan Alpha was to massacre everyone? That's
Right.
That's your ideal situation?
And they didn't discuss it first?
Generally, the way plans work, Big D, is you go over them. That's why it's a plan. You don't,
Right.
If you improvise and say kill those
Right.
people, it's not plan Alpha. It's not plan Alpha. But to answer your question about this being the first time you heard about this, I assumed that, yes, he'd been piloting. Yes, things had been building up. Maybe this is the first time Richards had been asked to, wipe out an entire crowd of people that is unarmed, right? In a year 2025, I'm talking about real world, when the government is asking agents to pull all kinds of firsts in America, I'm surprised this is what threw you for a loop. Like, do you think that ICE agents normally send legal residents to El Salvadorian gulags by mistake? Do you think immigration officials were arresting people at their citizenship interviews in 2024? I don't know. Did that happen to you?
No.
No. It's weird, huh?
No.
Yeah. So maybe that immigration officials sat down and they're like, all right, what are we going to do? Oh, it says here, Gonna deport this guy to El Salvador. All right, I guess. Plan Alpha.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe all of a sudden he had this. Maybe they were like, maybe when the ICE agents show up, they believe that these are like bad guys. You know, they believe it until later on they learn. So maybe this was the first mission for Richards, and going forward, he would have made a different decision.
Okay, how about this?
Mm-hmm.
If it was like armed people,
yes,
and they were like blowing shit up, then the orders were Plan Alpha, wipe him out. And then, so now Command is saying Plan Alpha, and he's like, but they're not armed. See, makes perfect sense. Excellent movie.
They have great video editing later on. Maybe they could have just like photoshopped some weapons in the crowd's hands, or maybe had some operatives, some paid protesters out there, you know, that would have made it happen. But as a whole, going back and watching these films, my memory as a kid watching these action films, I thought they were somewhat realistic. I remember seeing the action, the military, the weapons, the tactics. I thought this shit was like pretty hardcore. Now it's laughable. And I don't want to sound negative about this because we got accused of being negative on Star Wars, right? But rewatching these 80s movies as a kid, these action films, I loved. You have The Running Man, Total Recall, Demolition Man, Predator. When you go back, I didn't remember them as being funny. I don't think it's intentionally being funny, but they're over the top hilarious. Just watching Schwarzenegger. This isn't Keanu Reeves taking classes to learn how to fire a weapon and tactically clear a room. This is Schwarzenegger, a weightlifter, firing an M16 with one hand, not aiming, running around kind of crazy and aimlessly. You've got the people with the exploding collars around their neck. It's absurd. As a kid, I thought, shit, this is what badass guys are like. This is what a hardcore, professionally trained killer is like. Now watching it, it's kind of funny. It's like a parody of itself, and I found myself laughing at how ridiculous some of the scenes are.
What? Dude, these prisoners in this movie, for those who haven't seen it, they have collars that explode. They trigger when they cross an invisible sonic fence, and their fucking head explodes. It's badass.
Hold on. Do you think that head exploded? What did that special effects look like? Was that a violent explosion, or did it look like a small watermelon with like maybe a couple, like an M80? It was not an impressive special effect.
I thought it looked very cool.
Oh, no,
it's what they're going for. Did you ever play Smash TV in the arcade?
No. I'm fine with that. You just said it. They're going for it. They're not going for realism. They're striving for over-the-top action to get you fired up on a hot summer, get you in the theater. And as a kid, I thought this was like more like Black Hawk Down. I thought this was like Saving Private Ryan. I thought this was...
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is you were a dumb kid.
Yes.
Because the rest of us were like, hell yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Stupid kid. Richards travels to his brother's apartment only to find that Amber Mendez, a composer for the state broadcaster ICS, now lives there. He forces Amber to help him bypass airport security, but she alerts the authorities. After Richards is arrested, Amber sees news coverage falsely claiming that he killed several people at the airport, and she begins to doubt that Richards massacred the crowd in 2017. Meanwhile, Running Man host Damon Killian recruits Richards, hoping to boost the show's stagnant ratings. He threatens to replace Richards with Lachlan and Weiss unless Richards agrees to participate.
So you already mentioned that they're remaking this in 2025, and it's a trend. I think Hollywood, we've talked about it many times, is now everything has to be darker and grittier and more grounded. You look at Batman, you had Tim Burton, you have Joel Schumacher's Neon Batman. And then today we've kind of shifted over to the new Robert Pattinson's Batman, where everything is dark and gritty and real. And I started to wonder, what would Running Man look like if it was more like Black Mirror meets Hunger Game, where everything's bleak and emotionally draining? And then I stopped myself, Gene, because normally I like the gritty real feel, but I stopped myself, and the dumb kid came out a little bit and said, listen, I think that might be what's wrong with movies today. Everything is very serious. Everything is so over the top and heavy handed. And you have to leave with a message, and it has to make you think. 80s action, it worked because it was over the top. It was campy. It was flat out fun, like you said, Gene. As a kid, I had fun. Now I'm trying to dissect it and be like, oh, this isn't what I believed it was. No, not everything needs to be deep and moody. And sometimes I just want Arnold to be screaming one-liners and to see Hector, or what was his name, Chico, their friend, running through the invisible fence and his head popping like a meat water balloon.
That's the guy I know. That's the Big D that loves Flash Gordon. Coming through,
yes.
Shining through. Because I was going to say, Big D, I don't know what movie you watched. This is a very bleak movie. It's a bleak view of America. The cities in this movie, they look like garbage dumps. It's very Blade Runner, right? The government is mowing down food protests. Criminals are being forced into a deadly game without trial. You got elderly white Americans cheering for blood in this movie. How much darker do you want it? Like, how would they make it darker?
We talked about this was based off of a Stephen King or Richard Bachman book that he wrote. The book, Gene, was bleak. That was dark. That was dystopian. In that, at the end, first of all, he's an everyman in that film. At the end, he hijacks. He's an everyman. Yes, he was a guy who did it. He joined the Running Man for money. He was that in need. And at the end, he hijacks a plane and crashes it into the television station.
Hell yeah.
That movie was dark. That was now I'm glad they didn't do that, because that would have been a little too much.
And Big D mentioned that they try in several movies to make Arnold look like this everyman. You can give him a little hat, you can give him a little outfit, but we all know it's still Arnold. And I think that someone in costuming must have had a wild sense of humor, because Arnold, this was a parade of silly outfits throughout the movie. So first, as you mentioned, the helicopter pilot uniform. He's got his tiny little officer's cap and like these tan fatigues. It's nothing to see here. It's just Arnold being like paramilitary cop guy, just an everyday dude that's twice the size of literally everyone around him. And then he goes to prison. We get Prison Arnold, and he's got this like wispy beard. It's like Team America. Like they just glued pubes onto his face or something. And he's been in this gulag for 18 months, but somehow he's managed to maintain his 6'2", 230-pound frame. There are dudes on screen dying of exhaustion, just wasting away. Arnold, 6'2", 230. From there, he gets out of prison, and we get, I think, the best outfit of all. He's got this like World's Gym t-shirt, a cigar, and then like this little yellow cap. He looks like he might be going to adult daycare and like a lunchbox or something. And then, of course, we get the famous yellow Running Man suit. It is just bravo.
Yes. As a man who's attempting to grow a beard, I now pay attention to beards. That Arnold beard looks like Detective John Kimball. When he's undercover in Kindergarten Cop, it looks really bad. And this is a man who's supposed to be laying low. He's the most wanted fugitive. And he's wearing a bright yellow tiny construction yarmulke. And he's got on that gold yellow shirt. You could spot this man from a mile away.
Also, like, I'm not super cop here, Big D, but if you were in prison and then you broke out of prison, you know where I would look? The homes of your family. Going to your brothers is not the best move, I don't think, to get your way out, right? Your brothers?
Yeah.
There's an entire underground resistance. And he's like, no, thank you. I'm going to go to my brother's house.
Yeah, I'm going to be the large, like you said, 6'2", 230-pound Austrian, and I'm going to get on the back of a flatbed with a bunch of Mexicans. He stood out even more, but at least, Gene, they did explain how he, was so big in some of his other films. You think about Conan the Barbarian. There, it makes sense. He was tied to the Wheel of Pain. They trained him. They fed him well for combat. Here, it doesn't make any sense, but whatever. He's on the run. He's going to eventually get caught. But the big part here is that the way they use the Running Man TV show, it's like the Hunger Games, how the broadcast will control the masses. It stops them from picketing. It stops them from rebelling. And I started to wonder, and I think I want to hear your take on this, because you're not a big TV guy, and I do like reality. I do like Big Brother and Survivor and The Amazing Race. If the Running Man were real today, obviously you're not going to have, like, you can't have people dying because people would protest it. But if there was a more violent type of game like this, where people who were down on their luck could make cash, I think it would be a hit, because shows like Survivor, even Naked and Afraid, people willingly go into the worst environments, get naked and choose to live for 30 days, or inherently dangerous competitions like the X Games or MMA or these Red Bull challenges. It's not a big step to say, let's go to some kind of a game show where people have to be skilled, like MMA. You could have somebody who's a survivalist, somebody who's hand-to-hand combat, somebody who is has a special skill set. I don't think it's too much of a stretch if you take this framework, you get some hot, beautiful girls dancing, you have a pay-per-view, that people would watch this. This could be ratings gold.
I mean, we essentially had that with American Gladiators, but I get what you're saying. This is like a chase, right? So there's a city and you're trying to avoid them. It's sort of like a Judgment Night or a Warriors type thing, right? You're trying to get through there without being picked off. I think if there were no killing element, perhaps I think this is something that could work. But in its format that we see in the film, I don't think that Americans are where these people are in the movie. And I was watching it and thinking, like, are we there? It really was provocative in that sense. But I do think that Americans still today, where we are right now, 2025, are not ready for that sort of thing. And it made me think of like eating meat, right? I think if most Americans had to actually go to a slaughterhouse or kill animals themselves, there'd be a lot more vegetarians.
I don't know if that's true. I remember Jamie Oliver, the British chef. He was going to try to teach kids how chicken nuggets are made. So he showed them all the gizzards and small pieces of chicken. He blended it up. He put it together with this binding agent. He shaped it into chicken nuggets. The second he put it into the fryer, the kids went from, I would never eat that, to, yes, I would eat that. I think people would be okay with it.
Did they make the kids kill the chicks, though, and the chickens?
I don't think that many people would have a problem.
Okay,
with it.
like have you seen a traditional pork slaughter, like a when they kill a pig?
I have not.
In Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but like in real life.
No.
So they go knife like right into the throat, and they got to keep the blood. They got to pump out all the blood because they use that too, right? So the pig gets stabbed under the throat, and you got to hold it down, and it's shrieking. I mean, it's not cool. It's not a cool thing to watch. And I watched that, and I was like, fuck, that's hard. Now, before anybody writes in and gives me I know that it's not how it's commercially done, but I'm just saying, if people did have to witness that, I think people would not be, especially if they had to do it themselves.
Right. But I was recently watching these Muay Thai videos where the people were like doing shin kicks and shattering people's legs. Yeah. And MMA, the violent punching and blood. I don't think it's a huge stretch. I don't have to like gut a pig, but watching bum fights or some of these mixed martial arts where people's arms are getting snapped, I don't think it's a huge stretch to where you're not killing them, but you have people beating the shit out of each other. They have, like, LARPing, Gene. They now have it's like medieval combat where people are fighting with actual spades, maces, like sharpened blades. It's almost like fencing, but with medieval gear.
Yeah, but nobody's getting killed.
Right. We're gonna take the killing out. You can just get seriously injured.
So the big D hot take here is that if Running Man did not have killing, people would watch it.
An occasional death, I think they would even take.
Okay.
I really do. I think we would.
Well, as Running Man begins, Killian reneges on his offer and sends Richards, Weiss, and Lachlan in rocket sleds into a game zone, an abandoned part of Los Angeles divided into 4 quadrants. The group is stalked by Sub-Zero, a hockey-themed assassin whom Richards kills, marking the first time a runner has killed a stalker. Meanwhile, Amber is caught accessing the unedited Bakersfield footage and is sent into the game zone as well. Killian then dispatches 2 more stalkers, the chainsaw-wielding Buzzsaw and electric-shooting Dynamo. So, Big D, you knew it was going to happen. I've got to bring up my own training. In Krav Maga, we train to defend against any threat. As you go up in your levels in your training, you start out, your first level, it's simple chokes, whatever, all the way up into black belt levels. You're dealing with like hand grenades, right? And obviously, the more dangerous the weapon, the less your chances of survival. We accept that, right? It's not like, oh, this is going to work every time. Guy pulls a hand grenade, you're going to survive. The idea is to just have a 10% chance of surviving is better than zero. Having some sort of a plan. And a key principle of that is to use anything you can to match force with force. Like, I know knife defenses, okay? I know how to defend against a straight stab, an overhand stab, a slashing stab. But if there's a baseball bat handy, fuck my training, I'm grabbing the baseball bat. It's the smart move. The runners in The Running Man, they repeatedly kill the stalkers, but they never take their gear, right? So they kill Sub-Zero, you've got a razor sharp hockey stick. You kill Buzzsaw, you've got 3 chainsaws right there, a dirt bike, a car. And I'm like, why aren't they taking any of them? Do you think that they just considered them like too impractical?
No. I feel like an idiot because I completely missed it. The fact that no stalkers have been killed shows you the general participant in the show isn't a skilled fighter, isn't somebody who's prepared. I would have expected Richards to know what he was doing. And you think of it now when we play video games. You start off with nothing. You build up XP, you collect weapons, you level up. That makes sense. And the fact that I didn't even pick up on that they're not picking up weapons. They had Sub-Zero's like bladed like goalie stick. Carry that fucking thing. Anything. Put on some extra gear. Put on a helmet. Look for comms. Flip the car over. You had a dune buggy. You got a motorcycle. Try to drive your ass out of there. It's a little laughable. What we do get finally, our first death of a stalker. And it felt so real in 2025. The crowd goes from this bloodthirsty cheering to stunned silence. And Killian, played by Richard Dawson, who's a perfect casting in this film as a game show host from The Gong Show and Family Feud, he immediately shifts into that fake sympathy mode. Oh, thoughts and prayers. They quickly run like a memorial montage. They call for healing. It's eerily similar to what we get today. Anytime there's a tragedy in real life, people go from a frenzy to this performative mourning where the same people who were just encouraging the chaos are now like, oh, this is terrible. Let's take a moment. It's too soon. It's too soon. And this felt like a really sharp jab at the media and politicians and the hypocrisy, which honestly, today, this felt more relevant than it did in 87. Back then, it was just probably for laughs. Today, you could see this shit daily in the news.
Oh, we see it all the time. And you mentioned sports, Big D, right? It's like people don't want the NFL to be any safer. But then as soon as somebody has a massive head injury or is on the field and immobilized, right? Suddenly it's, oh, everyone be quiet. Oh, gosh, he was a hero, you know, whatever. And I always thought it odd that rooting for war was considered patriotic. Like, oh, we're going to war. It's a patriotic thing to do. Rah, rah, you know? But protesting war, oh, you're a turncoat. You're a traitor. You're not supporting the troops. In my opinion, and granted, I have not been in the army, Big D, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think the best way to support the troops is to advocate for ending wars or not starting them in the first place. And I will qualify that by saying I personally do not believe in protesting in the ways that would tie a fighting force's hands, right? Like, if we do commit troops to the battlefield, they need to have every weapon available and have our full-throated support. But we should also, at the same time, be doing everything we can to get their asses back and end that war.
Right. Anyone who's been in the military should pray for peace. Let the other guy die for his cause. I'll defend it, but I want to come home. And you think about, like, you're talking about football and sports. What about Damar Hamlin on the Bills? When he died on the field, and they're like, okay, let's not show that replay, everybody. Just a moment of silence. Then not more than like 35 minutes later, when they canceled the game, all the people in an uproar. What about the line? What about the bets? What about fantasy football? It was the final week of the season in my fantasy football league. I had Josh Allen, so it became like contention. We're like, dude, the guy just died. But you forget about it and you move on.
Dude, I've been reading the comments on like Yahoo Fantasy Baseball. Like, when dudes have injuries, people are brutal. Absolutely brutal. Like, a guy will like tear his quadriceps and they're like, you're 26 years old. Like, you should be able to run, 90 feet or whatever. And then they'll just lay to him. This guy's junk. This guy's garbage. He's a bum. Get rid of him. Always hurt.
Yeah. Or now you got a couple of guys who are on like maternity leave.
Yeah.
And people will question whether or not you should be with the wife for the birth of your child. But another funny moment here. So you get here now Mendez, who's played by Maria Conchita Alonso, who was fantastic in Predator 2. We remember her from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
She turns detective. Again, her motivation is she's going to uncover what the truth was. She's putting herself at risk. And she gets thrown into the game, Gene. She gets caught. And they quickly roll out the announcers is going to try to put her into the worst light possible to explain why this victim you just had on the news in the airport shooting is now a heinous criminal. And they break out. They're like, oh, here's Mendez. And they're going to list all the worst things she's done. Like, oh, she cheated on her college exam. She listened to banned music and gasp. She's had multiple sexual partners last year. Sometimes she has 2 or 3. And I started questioning, if you and I got tossed on the Running Man and they had access to my browser history and all of our text threads, I would be laid bare. It would be terrible. Gene, what propaganda would they put out there and what message would they sell about the monsters that we are?
First of all, they don't need access to our text messages or our browser history. They've got 400 something episodes of Shat the Movies. They know everything about us. And I feel like this is a confessional. And at the risk of coming before the tribunal, I'd say for me, they'd say I was a communist. True. That I advocated for violence against the police and the rich. I don't, but I could see how some of my comments would be construed that way. When I say all cops are bastards, people might think that means I want cops to die. That is not the case. They'd probably say I was the son of an illegal immigrant with ties to Iran, and that I make leftist propaganda, which I don't know. I'm not on TikTok anymore. So how about you?
Oh, this would be a weird position I'd be put in. I would have the LGBTQ community up in arms at the things I text. At the same time, the other half would say I was closeted. They would say I was gay with the shit that I share in some group threads. So I would both be hateful of the homosexual community, and then also I would be self-loathing because I was closeted.
Don't forget that you went AWOL after 9/11.
Oh, that is true. I was questioning where you going.
Abandoned your unit.
That's 100%. They would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would say that in the country's moment of need, I decided to go to Mardi Gras to have some kind of a sexcapade. That was the orgy weekend, Gene. So I chose group sex with a bunch of non-Christian heathens when the country was on. Yes.
And then you married a non-citizen.
Oh, my goodness. A non-English speaking native who was illegal.
And had an anchor baby.
Oh, anchor. I don't want to get ICE agents knocking on my door, but whew, there's a lot of things they would say about me.
All right. See you in El Salvador. Richards kills Buzzsaw with his own chainsaw, though Lachlan is fatally injured. Weiss discovers the satellite uplink controlling government broadcasts is inside the game zone, and he cracks the code for Amber to memorize before Dynamo kills him. Richards incapacitates Dynamo but spares his life. Witnessing Richards' talents, Killian secretly offers him a job as a stalker, but Richards furiously declines. Amber discovers the corpses of the show's past winners, I'm saying that in quotes, realizing their victories were state propaganda, and Richards kills the flamethrower-wielding Fireball. The audience begins cheering for Richards, while crowds outside place bets on his success. So, Big D, Arnold is the hero in this movie. I get Richards is a good guy, but I think he might be a little too good, right? I don't get why he is risking his neck to rescue Amber from Dynamo and Fireball. Again, for people who haven't seen this movie in a while, he's almost free and clear, but she rats him out in front of a bunch of guards while they're trying to get through security. And she's the reason why he's in this mess. I'm not saying she deserves to die. I'm not saying, Amber should die for what she did. But personally, if I were in Richard's shoes, I would not feel obligated to save the woman who ruined my escape plan in the first place. And from a matter of survival, like if I've got 3 hours where I just got to hide out from stalkers, it'd be great, a decoy. A person like Amber who's screaming her head off and running around, that's a gift from the gods. Get as much distance between you and her as possible and just hide out.
Yeah, see, I would keep her around You could pretend like you're there for her, you're going to work together as a team. But it's like when they say when you're running away from a bear, you don't have to be the fastest person, just don't be the slowest. Use her at a strategic point. That's fine. But I'll go a step further, Gene. I don't know why he has compassion for the stalkers. When he comes upon Dynamo, who's trapped in his upside down dune buggy, and he's short circuited out and he's begging for his life, and it's on camera, and he has some kind of a conflict of conscience, and he's on camera, and you expect that the people are going to be like, oh, save him, save him. Fuck no, I'm killing him. That's one less stalker. You got to survive. You got to think about your own survival. And Gene, we've had situations here where characters have a dilemma, certain death or giving in to evil. Here, it's certain death. You don't think you're going to get out of there. Would you consider, Gene, taking that sweet job, 3-year contract, become a stalker, live a good life, as opposed to certain death, or even worse, living out in the dystopian wasteland?
I think personally, right? I think you've got to take the deal because you were already, as Richards, you were already in the military. What is the job of the military, right? You kill the people you're told to kill. And so you're just doing your job. And I would imagine that usually it's going to be criminals who have a death sentence. So, okay. Although they did, actually, I take it back. They did say that people were in there for fairly minor offenses.
Oh, but even worse, take the job, go through a few rehearsals, then escape. Give yourself some time to get out of the combat zone.
Here's the problem. He's just going to go right back to Amber's house and he'll get caught again. He's really bad at escaping.
It's almost like he doesn't want to really escape.
It's the hat. Well, Richards and Amber are soon found by the resistance and taken to their command center. Killian orders retired stalker Captain Freedom to face Richards, but Captain Freedom refuses. So ICS edits existing footage to show Freedom killing Richards and Amber. Seeing this on TV, Richards realizes the government must now ensure they are not seen alive again. Using the satellite uplink codes, the resistance airs an expose of Killian's and the government's lies, including the unedited Bakersfield footage. At the same time, Richards leads the resistance members in a takeover of ICS to prevent the network from disabling the broadcast. Dynamo attacks Amber, but she triggers the sprinkler system, electrocuting him. Richards then confronts Killian, forcing him into a rocket sled and sending him into the game zone, where the uncontrolled vehicle crashes and explodes. So, Big D, in trying times like these, I appreciate a good revolutionary tale. But too many movies that we've seen on this podcast make the story bigger than it needs to be, particularly in the 80s. Running Man, right? Good man, framed for massacre, forced into deadly game show, who overcomes the odds to survive and get revenge on the host. Boom, great, I'm sold. Sounds like a good movie. I don't know why we needed the resistance. I don't know why we needed a conspiracy to hide the deaths of the previous runners. I don't know why we needed the satellite uplink. It's unnecessary bloat. The only reasons I can think of is they needed cameos from Mick Fleetwood and Dweezil Zappa.
No, I agree. It should have been simpler. You could have gotten us invested into the characters. Show us some of the other stalkers. Get us so that we're afraid when we're going to get to Jesse the Body at the end. It's going to be this big confrontation. But instead, we see very little of him. We don't see any animosity between them. You see all of these other characters in the rebellion and tracking down the dishes. It's too much. And it's another case of you're trying to do too many storylines that it becomes a muddy mess. And I think, again, it would have been better if it was simpler.
Yeah, and a lot of this hinges on the video footage, which, by the way, they've shown that video footage can be altered. So why not think it could be altered again? Nothing you see would be true. It's all deepfakes. I know I should just enjoy the movie and not ask too many questions, but I got to know, they put this video on for the studio audience that are all sitting there. And I'm like, who's the video editor over at the Resistance? Because in the time that Weiss discovers a satellite array, cracks the code and gives it to Amber, who then provides the video footage to prove Richard's innocence, in that time, okay, which I imagine, an hour? The Resistance discovers what's happening. They go retrieve these guys. They mount an attack. They hack into the satellites, and they manage to put together a video montage with clips of Killian and footage from the Bakersfield massacre that apparently was filmed with multiple cameras aboard the helicopter and in the crowd. As a person who has to edit video from time to time, I was very impressed with how quickly they were able to do this.
Well, I don't think you took into account the robust cataloging that the bad guys had done.
Yeah.
They didn't just store it all on one hard drive. They had stuff labeled. It's like the original Bakersfield massacre, the doctored footage. They broke it out nicely so that anyone who wanted to get into this unlocked room and smuggle it in her panties in her little Running Man suit, it was bound to happen.
It reminds me of Dirty Work when Norm Macdonald, hello, real cops?
Yes, yeah. But talked earlier on that the movies in the 80s were simpler. They were more fun. You didn't have to think too hard. And here you're talking about the video. And I think when you're campy, you don't have to think about all the loose ends. You can just enjoy it. Go with what they say. Ben kills Killian. Show ends. People cheer. The world is a magical new better place. There's no politics. There's no follow-up on the revolution. We're not going to question how the revolution actually works. In real life, the government would crush this rebellion, Gene, in 24 hours. There would be no happy ending where we see, oh, to be continued or coming up next on the screen at the end. No, it would be blood. There would be 50 helicopters coming in. They would put down this rebellion. It's too pretty and too easy to tie up with a bow, but this movie makes it okay. You don't have to question it. How did they get into the studio? There was no police force there. There was no one defending it. That this little ragtag army, where did they get their weapons? Have they been hiding all the time inside of the combat zone or the arena? It doesn't make sense, but because of the way the movie's structured, you don't have to question it. It's nice. You don't have to overthink it.
Unfortunately, I did overthink it. I had a couple key questions. The first one I couldn't figure out is what Captain Freedom's special power was. He came out with that like ridiculous suit on. And I was like, I wanted to see what it does. Didn't get to see that. Also, the motorcycle guys in the game area, do they just are they just like rodeo clowns? Do they just ride around and make noise? Like, can they actually hurt you? I didn't get that either. But the big one was, is there intent in the approach that the director had to this film? Because there seems to me a distinct meta approach to The Running Man. It's a movie about a game show that is watched by bloodthirsty, placated Americans, but in itself, the movie is for bloodthirsty, placated Americans, right? It sounds crazy, but like, okay, so we're watching gruesome deaths and we're watching humans being hunted in the movie, but we take breaks from that action for Arnold to just drop punchlines. And they're bad punch. Like, I think they're intentionally bad punchlines. Yes. Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero. Or when he takes out a fireball, how about a light? What a hothead. And even like that kiss between Richards and Amber at the end, it seems like a movie trope that to be continued. Like, do you think that they were trying to make, in making a movie about a show, they also made a movie about the movie?
Well, you forgot the best line when he's like, maybe we'll go to Hawaii. He's like, I had the perfect shirt. You ruined it. No. In order to really make a commentary on the United States, I think you have to be a foreigner. You know, the director was Michael Glazer. He was like Starsky from Starsky and Hutch in the 70s. That's who this was. I don't think he was making some critique on American society. You need a foreigner. You need Paul Verhoeven. He did, what was it? Total Recall. Mm-hmm. He did Starship Troopers. Oh, and he did RoboCop. Mm-hmm. So that is a man who can make satirical critiques of American society, violence, materialism, consumerism, about the military complex. I don't see Starsky trying to do some meta in-world commentary about American society and their love of violence. Again, I think this is not the movie. It's like Harrison Ford said, "Kid, it ain't that kind of movie. This ain't that kind of movie."
Don't forget Showgirls. That was a.
I always remember Cary Gross said something like the sex scene of the pool looked like a shark attack.
Now's the time of the podcast.
Thrashing. She was thrashing around, and she was being orally stimulated, I believe, and she was it was like an attack.
You don't do that?
No, not like that. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Well, that was the time of the podcast to give our Shat score for The Running Man. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get our perspective. But 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when you're the only asshole in heaven. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster movie. It's when someone uplinks your ass and you're underground. Big D, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for The Running Man?
I think I got to go 1.5. I think it's on par with Demolition Man for me. It's fun. You don't have to think too hard. Maybe Demolition Man in hindsight was a little funnier. The interactions between Snipes and Stallone and Sandra Bullock and the world building with the 3 seashells and the more jumpsuits and just the Taco Bell. And again, it was a dystopian society of the mole people living underground and Dennis Leary. But it's pretty good. I think it's fun. Not Schwarzenegger's best, but by far not his worst. I think 1.5.
I'm going to come in a little bit lower than that at 1 3/4 wipes. From a fun factor, this movie is a 0 wipe movie for me, but it did suffer from a little bit of bloat. I also think it is iconic. The set pieces, the costuming, the performances, the one-liners. I think that it is just a movie that stands alone in this genre, in this era. However, at the same time, it is deeply flawed. A lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm excited to see what they do with the remake. And maybe it'll give me a little perspective on how this movie could be different. I agree with you, Big D, that a simple guy that just needs the money, if the world's that rough, is a lot more compelling a tale. You don't need all this buildup around it. So I'm sticking to my guns, 1 3/4 wipes. And with 1 3/4 wipes for me and 1.5 wipes for me, that gives us an average wipe score of 1.625 wipes for The Running Man.
So, Gene, with a score of 1.625 wipes repeating, that now ties us in the 127 spot with a bunch of films that feel right. Ninja Scroll, Stargate, The Rock, The Natural, War Games, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Gremlins. Fun over substance. I think it's fair. I think it's right about where it belongs.
Yeah, I mean, Gremlins is a really good comparison there because, again, we have an 80s movie that is eternally recognizable. It is unique, and yet it is flawed in a lot of ways. A lot of parts of Gremlins don't make sense. Midnight in What Time Zone is my favorite example. I think it's a fair score.
I think the one mistake and where it could have really stood out was if we got more Jesse the Body.
Oh my God, he was great. He was
and
so
they
good.
wasted him. They wasted him.
His little workout video. Oh, it's fantastic.
Why not show his disdain when he's ripping off his ridiculous outfit?
Yeah.
You could have built up some kind of animosity between the two, or maybe at the end, I wanted to see more of them battling and less the Christmas tree and the Doom buggy.
All right, Jeremiah, thank you so much for this commission. Before we close out, I want to get to some voicemail. And our first one is about The Running Man. It comes from Joe Kennedy in County Galway.
Hey, Shack Crew, how are things? This is Joe Kennedy here, a reasonably long-time listener, but a first-time voicemailer. Calling into you here from County Galway in the west of Ireland, and just wanted to say I absolutely love the pod. Came across it about a year ago, I would say, having tried a few other movie review podcasts, and I think your one is by a country mile the best of the lot. Great company every day on my commute to and from work. I think you have a great blend of discussing the movie's strengths and weaknesses, and as we say over here in Ireland, you're able to have the crack as well. Which is not a drug, it's just being able to have a laugh. You've done most of my favourite movies at this stage, I think, and I'm really looking forward to I see The Running Man is up on the schedule for next week. Really looking forward to that. Might even try and get in a watch myself. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember loving it before, and I must try and watch it maybe before I listen to your review of it, but looking forward to hearing what you think of it. Another favourite of mine as well, I was amazed it hadn't cropped up yet, was Breakdown with Kurt Russell. So hoping to see that pop up on the schedule at some stage. But again, thanks a million, lads, for a brilliant pod, and keep up the great work. Signing off here from Ireland, it's Joe.
I feel like Breakdown somebody asked about.
It does ring a bell, and I know that we are pretty favorable with the Kurt Russell. So if it's not already commissioned, I would love to do that one. And Joe, by the way, you might have already heard this on the podcast before, but we have a bit of a history with Galway. In the summer of '99, I studied there with the study abroad journalism program from Arizona State University, and got in a bar fight in Galway. And I was there for 2 days, managed to get in a fight. I didn't start it, though, but I sure as hell finished it.
So how did it end? Did it end well?
No, I got my fucking face smashed into, like, when like older pubs, how they've got like the rocky walls that looks like a fireplace, Yeah, it took one right in the fucking eye. Got my head, like back of the head grabbed and boom, right into the rock. It sucked a lot.
So we can add that into your shame montage.
International incidents.
International hooligan.
Fucking yeah, it's true. Oh, and I was in drag at the time. So I mean, I wasn't actually in drag. I was wearing a skirt, but again, the Running Man people are going to build it up. Anyway, Joe, I always love to hear when we have international listeners. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's such an ego boost to be like,
love it.
There's somebody overseas in a cool ass place. It's like Gene in his little studio in his backyard in the Arizona desert. I want to listen to what these two old men are saying to each other. I love it.
Seriously, when there are down times or they're like we question the world or what's going on, the ability to connect with someone, it's flattering. It never gets old. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Joe, for your voicemail. Next up, we have a voicemail from Dear Leader. It's the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Hello, Shat crew. Donald J. Trump here. Been thinking a lot about the podcast. Tried to send a voicemail the other day. Perhaps you haven't. It's about government waste. I recently listened to the trailer for The Abyss and then the episode itself. And Elon Musk and I have determined that we're going to go ahead and cancel Abyss. It's very wasteful. We're sending Ed Helms down to the bottom of the ocean with the two water aliens. It's a much better way we could spend that money. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. I just want to say that failing classes is okay. We love the uneducated. You can fail all the classes you want. And the Donald Trump society that everybody goes to summer school. It's always summer school. Everybody failing. It's okay. You can fail. We're going to be giving out so much summer school. It's going to be the best thing I've ever seen. We canceled the Department of Education, which means we're going to have way more education. You're going to be looking out your window. You're going to be seeing education. It's going to be great. I love you, Gene.
I love you too, Donald J. Trump. Yeah. So the Abyss. I don't know if I'd classify that as a wasteful project. I mean, they were recovering nuclear warheads and discovering new life forms. I think that's a great investment of federal money.
But I believe, weren't they down there? They were part of the oil and gas industry, weren't they? They weren't researchers.
Oh, Ed Harris's crew?
Yes, that's who he's talking about. What did he say? Yeah. Ed Helms?
Is it Ed Helms?
No, it's Ed Harris's. They were part of like the natural gas and the petroleum industry.
Well, that's necessary too.
That's not wasteful.
No, not at
Maybe
all.
the search for extraterrestrial life was wasteful.
They just stumbled
unless you
on
want to
that part.
harness them as a weapon system.
Mm.
You know, that's smart. But I like that education will be flying around out the windows and summer school.
I love looking out my window and seeing education.
Yeah, it's nice. You know, we've got listeners in Ireland and now listeners in the White House.
And the President of the United States.
And Elon. It's great.
And Elon. All right, next up we have a voicemail from our old friend, Safety Dave.
Hey, Shat Crew, Safety Dave here. Wow. I mean, I'm just looking at the news right now, looking at everything. I'm like, these are pretty trying times, right? Well, that's why I wanted to drop a bombshell. Because why not, right? I feel like I'm in the actor's. I'm actually in like a studio right now. It's a very actor studio-y. It's very, I feel like a good vibe going. Shat Crew and Shat Nation. I am Donald J. Trump. My first voicemail I left was on the Three Kings episode. I left another one complaining about the Abyss being a wasteful government program. I don't know if that's ever going to show up or not, but
it did.
I just wanted to have the time, or I had the time, and I wanted to take the time to talk to the Shat Crew, Shat Nation. Just, pretty soon we're all going to be marauding in the street, Mad Max. I'm going to get him. I've been growing my hair out specifically for a mohawk, so this is probably the last time to call in. So, Shat Crew, I was Donald Trump all along in a Scooby-Doo move. I mean, I guess that's about it. I like that so the episode I was on, there was a guy named Chris Smith, I think he said, but it sounded like Christmas. Like, I'm Christmas, and I'll do whatever I want because I'm Christmas. Like, you know what? If you guys could, like, in the Pantheon of Shat, if you could call me Christmas 2, that'd be cool. I mean, Christmas is already taken, but if you could be like Christmas 2, yeah, I like Christmas. It makes me think of happy things like chocolate and not having tariffs. And
See, you got cut off there. How do we know this isn't a false flag operation, Gene? This could be a deep fake. This could be a Running Man level edited, manipulated.
Or how else I'm gonna explain
He's
it.
back.
So I'll just leave it there. I mean, we got to leave some of this on the cutting room floor, right? So, all right, Shakru. Just know that Donald J. Trump loves you, and so does Safety Dave. And you go into that great blue darkness or whatever, and you accomplish what you need to, Shakru. Accomplish what you need to.
I've never heard a person sound simultaneously so drunk and so sober at the same time. Christmas too, we love you. Thank you for the voicemails. And I thought, Big D, what you're going to say is that he secretly is Donald Trump, but calling in as this made-up character, Safety Dave.
It could be somebody in the press office trying to cover the tracks. This is another Kofiki or whatever. We're trying to explain why Donald had given us a call. But I love you, Safety Dave.
Now that we've lost half of our listenership, it is time.
They didn't make it this far, Gene. There were people recently who got pissed on our Manchurian Candidate review where I specifically gave a disclaimer. And I said, listen, if you're going to get butthurt and get upset and cry, don't listen to this one. And somebody gave us a 3-star and said, well, maybe you should have taken the hint. No, maybe you should have just changed. Skip the episode. Why is it my fault because you're sensitive?
Yeah, what if I was like, hey, Big D, I want to do an episode where you just tell me about softball. We have the right to do that. We've earned it, okay? And as long as we give you a disclaimer at the beginning, this is a softball episode. What do you want from us, people?
It made no sense. I warned you so you wouldn't get upset. And then it's almost, Gene, as if they were seeking it out to be upset.
Weird.
It's strange how that happens.
Grievance politics. What? All right. Anyway, Big D, let's for the 4 people who are still listening, let's get on to the next movie.
Gene, the hits keep coming as Jeremiah has another banger for us. The Enterprise and its crew follow a Borg ship through a time warp to prevent the Borg from taking over the Earth in a past era. Stuck in the past, Geordi LaForge helps a pioneer of space travel in an effort to create a new and first warp drive while Captain Picard and Commander Data battle the Borg Queen as she tries to take over the Enterprise, commissioned by Jeremiah W. Came out in 96. And I have a great story for this one about the experience in the theater with Trekkies and the almost orgasmic outburst that this Trekkie had during this film for a specific scene. It had me questioning the humanity of the other people in the theater.
Well, now I'm excited. So I forgot to mention, I went to the Diamondbacks Brewers game with Shane and his boys the other day. And one of the things they talked about, they're like, why don't you guys have sponsors? Like, we're really bad at that part. We're really bad at the selling ourselves part. Not that we're great at anything else, but we're really bad at the selling ourselves part. So sponsors, you guys go forth, Shat Nation, find us some sponsors. We'll happily take them. Especially
Dick pills. Yeah, Dick pills.
Dog stuff. Dog anything.
Yeah, like Chewy, something like that. I think
protein powder.
I don't know. I think I draw the line maybe at vaping or something. Like CBD oils, I'd be all for that.
CBD oils. I'm into it. Pipe tobacco.
How have we not even gotten an offer for a VPN? A VPN software. Seems like they're everywhere.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Like NordVPN. Yes, you do. Yeah. A virtual private network. Yes, you do.
No.
You're full of shit.
They're listening. I don't know what any of that is. None of it. All right. Well, thank you, Jeremiah, for your past films, your future films, and this film, 1987's The Running Man. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. Wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. Helps the podcast grow. And thank you to all the people who send in voicemail. If you would like to send a voicemail, go to shatpod.com. Use the SpeakPipe feature anywhere on the website. We'd love to hear your voice. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
In his nightmares, he can see them. In his mind, he can hear them.
Look, Eudes.
In his soul, he can feel them.
I've just received a report from Deep Space 5. Long-range sensors have picked up...
Yes, I know. The Borg. Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp.
Now, in Earth's darkest hour, he must fight them again.
Captain, Earth. Life signs?
Population approximately 9 billion. All Borg.
How?
Time travel. They went back and assimilated Earth. Changed history. I must follow them back. Repair whatever damage they've done.
But this time, they must travel to the past.
April 4th, 2063.
To save our future.
You're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
They invade our space, and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here.
It looks like the control deck's 26 up to 11.
Mr. Data and I are returning to the ship. Don't let them touch you!
Captain!
Data!
We must activate the auto-destruct sequence.
You want to destroy the ship and run away? You coward.
If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand.
Let's rock and roll!
Destroy them. Watch your futures end.
Our shields and our weapons are gone.
Resistance is futile. Perhaps today is a good day to die.
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No! We are not going to lose the Enterprise. Not to the Borg, not while I'm in command.
Star Trek. First Contact.